This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Monday, the 18th day of March in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. During Guyana's appearance before the United Nations Human Rights Commission this morning for its periodic report, the issue of allegations of corruption against Vice President Barra Jagdeo and allegations of corruption in the Guyana Police Force and the local judiciary was raised by UN Human Rights Committee member Lawrence Helfer.
The committee is aware of public frustration regarding, for example, the failure to investigate reports of corruption by Vice President Barra Jagdeo. The committee also notes allegations of corruption in the Guyana Police Force and in the judiciary. Would the state party care to comment on these reports?
In response, Minister of Governance Gail Teixeira, who joined the meeting virtually from Georgetown, said in the case of the allegations against the Vice President, those were never investigated because there was never any police report filed against him in the matter by anyone.
There's no follow-up on it because there was no police report made by Vice News or anybody else. And so the police cannot investigate without some form of report of complaint. However, the Vice President has answered this issue publicly several times in the same media that has carried these reports.
In relation to the local judiciary, Minister Teixeira said there have been no reports about allegations of corruption against the local judiciary. Vice President Barra Jagdeo has always denied the allegations of corruption that were leveled against him in a Vice News special report that was done back in 2022, and which sought to link him to alleged acts of corruption involving Chinese businessmen and the provision of government contracts. The UN Human Rights Committee also raised the issue of the State Asset Recovery Agency no longer being in existence, raising questions about what currently exists for the recovery of state assets. Minister Teixeira told the committee that while the State Asset Recovery Agency has been disbanded, the offices of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit, and the Special Organized Crime Unit have all been strengthened to do their work, which would include the recovery of state assets. The Guyana delegation also faced questions about the still-to-be reconstituted Human Rights Commission. Teixeira said the opposition leader is still to submit his nominees for the commission. It was noted that the commission has been out of action for a number of years. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true, or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Holiday spending put a dent in your cash. Top up your pockets in the Cash Splash promotion. Win over $5 million, including over $1 million in our weekly draws. Just purchase any Buster, Turbo, Fruita, Cool Kids or Viva. Look for the 8-digit code starting with 786. Then visit Facebook or IG at Buster Guyana or Turbo_Caribbean for more details.
In our search for sophistication and grace, the Super Stylistics team invites you to be part of something extraordinary. Mothers and daughters who possess aura and presence that transcend through time. Step forward and become part of the Mother and Daughter Pageant 2024. Join our legacy as we redefine elegance for generations to come. The search for the epitome of timeless love begins now. Call 226-2825 or 626-0460 to secure your spot in the Mother and Daughter Pageant 2024.
Well, the U.S. Department of State, through the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, has made an additional $300,000 available to Guyana under the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative to combat a number of security challenges, including the trafficking of narcotics. At the signing ceremony this morning at Ramphel House, U.S. Ambassador to Guyana Nicole Terrio said the provision of the additional $300,000 on the existing letter of agreement will help Guyana better combat crime, enhance the rule of law, and integrate effectively into the regional security system. The bilateral assistance is complemented by more than $2.5 million in Caribbean Basin Security Initiative's regional programming, which is designed to promote regionalization. The additional funding paves the way for at least 3 new areas of partnership, including a capacity building program with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency.
First, crime and illicit narcotics trafficking threaten Guyana's security, stability, and economy, and pose a direct threat to the national security of both of our countries. That's why I'm very pleased to announce the U.S. Embassy in INL will soon begin a capacity building program with the U.S. DEA to bolster Guyana's counter-narcotics capacity, to address the large amounts of cocaine transiting the country, and to help the GPF provide critical casualty and trauma care for officers and community members in rural environments.
Additionally, with the aim of strengthening border security to combat transnational crime, the U.S. will be deploying a technical FBI team to Guyana to upgrade the country's integrated automated fingerprint identification system, particularly at major ports throughout the country, and to ensure interoperability with U.S. law enforcement. The U.S. also intends to make a $350,000 investment in Guyana under the Better Police Readiness Program.
I am pleased to announce the United States will make a $350,000 investment in Guyana under the Better Police Readiness Program, implemented by PADF, to support the GPF's implementation of its strategic management plan. Specifically, we will work hand in hand with the GPF to improve training academy curriculum, enhance the GPF's strategic planning and management, bolster the GPF's forensic and crime scene investigation capabilities, and train the GPF on crisis communications, hostage negotiations, and best practices to engage vulnerable populations.
The U.S. Ambassador reasoned that the increased partnership will help to pave the way for Guyana's deeper integration into regional security cooperation and will support a more inclusive criminal justice system. Home Affairs Minister Robeson Ben, who signed the agreement with the U.S. envoy, said Guyana is pleased with the support which forms part of the global fight to combat trafficking of narcotics, guns, and ammunition. He said the U.S. has been a staunch supporter and partner to Guyana in that fight.
We are aware and we have been working at stemming the flow with particular success this year for sure in relation to narcotics trafficking. We want to point out the regional and global nature of this fight because the neighboring countries, both in the Caribbean region and in South America, all are suffering from the negative effects of narcotics trafficking. The trafficking in firearms, which supports the trade, and the crime and violence, which results as a result of narcotics trafficking. Not to mention the questions of money laundering and moving on into other questions, people smuggling, people trafficking, all the issues of transnational organized crime which hinge upon narcotics trafficking.
And this evening, the Home Affairs Minister is urging Guyana's all international partners to follow in the footsteps of the U.S. and lend support to the fight against narco trafficking, noting that it is more than Guyana can handle alone. 1 month after he escaped from the Mazaruni jail and just a week after he slaughtered an elderly woman and her son, rape convict Akeem Wang was shot dead on Sunday afternoon by members of the Joint Services during an operation in the Essequibo region. The Joint Services were on the hunt for the prison escapee over the past 4 weeks, but intensified that search in the past week after the man was named as the only suspect in the murder of 75-year-old Elizabeth Gomes and her son, 49-year-old David Gomes, at Saxacali. In a statement yesterday, the police force said Joint Services ranks were in the Groats Creek back dam in the Essequibo River on Sunday afternoon when they came across the man's hideout. The statement said the escapee, who was armed with a cutlass, charged towards the ranks and was shot dead. He fell to the ground and his body was later transferred to the Bartica Hospital. A post-mortem examination is to be carried out on the body. The police said a number of items were found in the man's hideout, including a mobile phone, a flashlight, and a small amount of Guyanese currency. Wong was serving a 15-year jail sentence for rape when he managed to escape from the high-security Mazzaruni jail on the 15th of February. Last weekend, he reportedly made his way to Saxakali in the Essequibo, where after interacting with an elderly woman and her son, he chopped them both to death after suspecting that they had recognized him. The mother and son were laid to rest late last week.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
At the most critical life-changing moments, the National Insurance Scheme is here to ensure that your needs are covered. Access reimbursement for medical expenses for various aspects of your medical care. We know that eye care is of utmost importance. Receive assistance with our Spectacle Care voucher. Visiting the dentist? Dental care is also covered under our sickness benefit services. Offset the funeral expenses of a loved one with costs covered by our funeral benefits. National Insurance Scheme. We're there every step of the way.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo, from its pristine rivers to its abundant resources. It's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
Minister of Home Affairs Robeson Bent today confirmed that the investigations are ongoing by the Police Force's Office of Professional Responsibility into a recent incident where members of the Special Branch Unit opened fire on a car that was being driven by a police sergeant. Speaking to reporters this morning on the sidelines of an event, a clearly agitated Home Affairs Minister ruled out reports that more than 80 shots were fired at a policeman's car by members of the Special Branch during the incident.
There was some talk about 88 rounds being fired. Of course, it's impossible. Even a person who isn't skilled at arms, who could have the ability to shoot 88 rounds, would at least shoot the car. So, this suggestion that 88 rounds were fired at a car with a person in it and they all missed is ridiculous.
In a statement that came 6 days after the incident, the Guyana Police Force, after being quizzed by reporters, revealed that Police Sergeant Ronald Payne was on his way home after completing a shift last Monday night when the party of Special Branch ranks ordered him to stop and opened fire. The special branch officers, who were all dressed in civilian clothes and were in an unmarked vehicle, reportedly never identified themselves before opening fire in the direction of the policeman's car, forcing the police sergeant to drive to the Providence police station with them in hot pursuit. At the Providence station, the special branch officers realized that they had opened fire on one of their own after the police sergeant emerged from his car in his uniform. The police force said the special branch ranks claimed that the car matched the color of a car linked to the suspects in a murder probe. Minister Robeson then today shut down several questions about whether he believes standard operating procedures were followed in the case. He said the matter remains under investigation.
Next question. Next question. Madam, I have not read the reports, and I'm saying I am satisfied so far as to what was presented in the press, that 88 rounds were fired at a car, and nobody was injured, nor the car was struck.
Does it bring into question the SOPs of the Guyana?
I'm waiting for the review by the OPR and the Commission Police on that aspect of it.
Are the
I
officers
cannot comment. I am not commenting further on the matter.
But are the officers on the close arrest?
It is getting the attention of the OPR.
But can you confirm if the officers
I am not confirming anything. I'm telling you, it's under the OPR.
How are you
the Commissioner of Police. Who else has a question?
Minister,
who else has a question?
Ben would not say whether the 5 special branch ranks remain under close arrest. The latest incident followed the shooting death of a police sergeant at an interior location by a police constable during an operation in search of a prison escapee. And that incident is also under active investigation. The Judicial Service Commission has started the process to fill key vacancies in the local judiciary in an effort to reduce the high number of cases before the courts. Last week, the JSC started to interview persons for the position of judges to serve in the High Courts, as well as the Land Court in Berbice. The recently constituted JSC has set aside its tradition of inviting persons that it believes are qualified for the judicial posts and has allowed open applications for the available positions. Attorney General Anil Nandlal said there have been mounting complaints about the shortage of judges, especially the absence of Land Court judges.
That the Judicial Service Commission today has commenced interviewing candidates to fill vacancies of High Court judges and Land Court judges.
That shortage of High Court judges has been ongoing for many years, resulting in a backlog of many cases.
So, those persons who have been waiting for an undue long period of time for Land Court judges in Berbice, the appointment process is ongoing, and hopefully we will have Land Court judges appointed first of all, and assigned to Berbice in short time.
Last July, President Irfan Ali reconstituted the Judicial Service Commission with the swearing-in of its members after it was non-functional for 6 years. The acting chancellor and the acting chief justice are among the members of that Judicial Service Commission. The commission's tasks include the appointment of judicial officers and staff, and the discipline and removal of judicial officers and other senior staff members in the local judiciary. The JSC also advises the President on the appointment of judges, with the exception of the Chancellor and the Chief Justice. Well, Guyana's Minister of Governance, Gail Teixeira, this morning told the United Nations Human Rights Committee that citizens of the country will decide on the way forward regarding the death penalty, even as she said there are no plans by the government to boost the capacity to execute anyone under the current laws. Guyana appeared before the UN Human Rights Commission today, and in responding to questions in relation to the death penalty, Minister Teixeira stated that although the death penalty remains in the country's constitution, the way forward will be decided by constitutional reform. She said a similar process was undertaken between 1999 and 2001, and the popular view was that the death penalty should remain on the books, although it remains unused. Although the death penalty has not been removed from the constitution or the statute, the matter will have to go back to Parliament. Guyana has not executed a death penalty warrant since 1997. Over the past 8 years, several international agencies, including the International Commission Against the Death Penalty, have been urging the government of Guyana to abolish the death penalty completely, since Guyana remains the only country in South America to uphold the death penalty as penalty for certain crimes. In 2022, the Guyana Court of Appeal refused to strike down the death penalty as unconstitutional.
In our search for sophistication and grace, the Super Stylistics team invites you to be part of something extraordinary. Mothers and daughters who possess aura and presence that transcend through time. Step forward and become part of the Mother and Daughter Pageant 2024. Join our legacy as we redefine elegance for generations to come. The search for the epitome of timeless love begins now. Call 226-2825 or 626-0460 to secure your spot in the Mother and Daughter Pageant 2024.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyana is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyana's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyana has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Holiday spending put a dent in your cash. Top up your pockets in the Cash Splash promotion. Win over $5 million, including over $1 million in our weekly draws. Just purchase any Buster, Turbo, Fruita, Cool Kids, or Viva. Look for the 8-digit code starting with 786. Then visit Facebook or IG at Buster Guyana or Turbo_Caribbean for more details.
With your regional and international news tonight, I'm Svetlana Marshall. In the region, more than 10 bodies were removed by ambulance from the affluent neighborhood of Patientville on the outskirts of the Haitian capital, according to a Reuters witness on Monday, as tensions continue to simmer pending the announcement of a new government. The bodies of the victims, who had been shot earlier in the morning, were removed from the main road leading into the suburb and from outside a gas station, the witness said. Authorities have yet to give more details. This comes amid an escalation in gang violence, amid a political impasse that saw the United Nations, as well as the US and Canadian embassies, withdraw staff in recent days. Under international pressure and stranded in Puerto Rico, Prime Minister Ariel Henry announced his resignation pending a temporary replacement a week ago, but the council set to choose his replacement has yet to be appointed. Regional leaders put forward a number of political associations set to participate in this council, but factions have struggled to unite, and one group outright rejected the plan brokered by regional leaders in Jamaica. Meanwhile, the capital has been paralyzed as fresh attacks broke out last week, including a fire at the main prison that days earlier had been emptied of prisoners and the residence of the National Police Chief. Gang leaders who have long sought to oust Henry have warned of a battle for Haiti and threatened politicians who join the transition council. Residents are facing worsening shortages of food and medical care as shipping forms have changed routes. Many Grenadians will be closer to their dream of home ownership as the Housing Authority of Grenada, HAG, has announced that progress has been made in the distribution of its low-income housing units, beginning with St. David. The Housing Authority of Grenada says the process for acquiring a unit will be seamless. The Housing Authority said during the last few months Diligent efforts were made to finalize the acquisition process by procuring closets and cupboards for all units to ensure that the units are safe and livable for all residents. It says the distribution of housing units is now on the way. Today, financial institutions will be notified of the legal documentation for the units. And finally tonight, international news. Western governments lined up on Monday to condemn Vladimir Putin's landslide election victory as unfair and undemocratic. But China, India, and North Korea congratulated the veteran Russian leader on extending his rule by a further 6 years. Reuters, in a report, said the contrasting reactions underscore the geopolitical fault lines that have gotten wider since Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago, triggering the deepest crisis in relations with the West since the end of the Cold War. Arriving in Brussels on Monday, EU foreign ministers wrongly dismissed the election result as a sham ahead of agreeing sanctions on individuals linked to the mistreatment and death of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. Russia's election was an election without choice, the German foreign minister said at the start of the meeting. Playing on Moscow's reference to its war in Ukraine as a special military operation, French foreign minister said Paris had taken note of the special election operation. France, Britain, and others condemned the fact that Russia had also held its election in occupied regions of Ukraine that it claims to have annexed during the war. But the Kremlin dismissed such criticism, saying the 87% of the vote won by Putin during the 3-day election showed that the Russian people were consolidating around him. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.